we are candid. We talk straight talk. We tell people what we think. And that tradition and those values live today.
Are the source of all governmental power. That the authority of the people is to be extended. We believe, not restricted, equality for all and privileges for none.
Hello, everybody. This is Rachel, Communications Director, and joining me, of course.
Hey, everybody. This is Iris. I am the Executive Director here at TCDP. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. So thank you for joining us for a Dem Good Time. Today, we are going to have a wonderful guest, Ms. Tiffany Burks, running for District Attorney. So she'll be joining us later. That's going to be exciting.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited for her race. She is, I mean, all of our ballot is really important, but having her as a district attorney will change Tarrant County significantly. So let's vote her in. Let's vote all of them in. Vote all the way down the ballot, y'all.
Yes, she was one of our candidates, actually, that was at our July 30th supply drive and candidate forum. And I mean, I thought it was really informative and interesting, though, the way that she talked about the discretion of a DA, of a district attorney, and how, they can take what would be maybe a drug offense and then drug test the person, and instead, if they test clean, then take that charge away. Like a lot of like the way she just really broke it down, I thought was really good, really good. So if you haven't already, check out some of the other videos on our Facebook, and I'm sure we'll be adding them to our YouTube. But really great discussions of the impact they can have in their elected office. So check it out.
Yeah, y'all got some really good videos. Yeah, and we also have Tiffany Burke's yard signs in our office that are available for pickup.
It seems silly, but a yard sign actually makes a big difference. Like in 2020, it was the battle of the signs. So, be loud, be proud, and put your signs out. And we also have BETO signs for sale.
Yes. We just got them in last week, so come pick up your signs.
Yes, we do have options. I think we should model it after Starbucks and be like tall, grande, and venti, but that's just me.
I like that.
I know, right? But instead, we have our BIG Beto sign, our venti, if you will, of $50, right?
Yes, and they're 4 feet by 6 feet, so they're the big road signs.
Yes. But if you don't want to put it up yourself, but you would like to pay and sponsor for it to be put up in a public place, that is $62. So really not a bad deal, like at all.
Yeah, and you're helping us get the name out there, making sure people know that there's an election coming. Very important. It's like a small billboard.
Yes, and then our grande sign, of course, is our custom Beto Future TCDP yard signs. Oh yes, model. Show it off.
It's wrapped in plastic, so sorry if there's a reflection, but here's the front.
Yes, don't stop at the top. Support all them dooms. Yeah.
And then the back, which is our background for this podcast.
Yes.
Defend democracy, vote. And we also have a t-shirt with this on our online store.
Yes. Store.tarrantdemocrats.org. So purchase, help support, help show the world that you're ready for a change to come to Tarrant County, because so goes Tarrant, so goes Texas. We flipped Tarrant, we finished that flip, then we are going to flip our entire state. Do you know what that means?
What does it mean, Rachel?
It means we could lock down the presidency for 10 years.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. And then not only that, but just electing Beto this year would mean, safer schools, funded schools, legalized cannabis, lower property taxes, better health care, What else? There's so many things.
So many things, but
so
it's also
excited.
really important. We want to get Beto elected, but he can only do so much work. He needs to get more Democrat. Well, we need to get more Democrats.
We need
elected.
a Democratic state house.
Yeah, House, state Senate.
Democratic state house.
Yeah, and we have some really awesome candidates. So please check them out. Make sure to vote all the way down ballot because all of these offices are super vital.
Yes. TarrantDemocrats.org. We've got all your questions covered. We have links to all of their websites. So you can go and learn more about each candidate that you're interested in on your own. Plenty there. Check it out. Okay, so and then I'm sorry, our tall size sign, if you will, is our it's like a Mylar bag design Beto sign. Just real simple, Beto for Texas. So $15. We have lots of options, if you will.
Yeah, so come pick up your yard sign.
Yes.
I can't wait for my yard to just be just full of yard signs. Yes, I'm gonna be that person in my neighborhood with like 20 yard signs.
Yes, I'm gonna have to I want to try to figure out a way to like incorporate them into my Halloween theme since it'll be close, to the election. I know. I can't
wait to see that.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, sorry. Getting off on a whole thought process of Halloween decorations. Don't know why. Yes. Okay, so birthday bash.
Yes.
Somebody's got a birthday tomorrow.
It's me.
Yes. Our fearless leader, Dr. Allison Campolo, our party chair, had her birthday yesterday. So happy belated birthday to the big boss.
Happy birthday,
And
Allison.
then our other big boss, the Iris Garcia, they are going to have their birthday tomorrow.
Yes.
40, right? You look amazing.
No, not quite. I'm turning 28.
No, not even close.
Sometimes it feels like it. But
I just wanted to like freak people out and look at you and be like, I'm sorry, what? 40?
I'm actually turning 50. No, I'm just kidding.
Great skin routine, whatever it is. Nice. Yes, but we are having a big birthday bash with a cake auction. Yes. Delicious. Yes. This Wednesday at the Post. So if you haven't already, go on our Facebook. You can check out the details, sign up, get your tickets, $35 for an individual ticket. Or if you'd like to sponsor maybe a little higher level, you get a few tickets.
Yeah, and you'll be supporting our coordinated campaign, which will get all of these Democrats elected in November.
Yes, like our wonderful guest later, Tiffany Burks. We can't stop at the top. You're so right, Iris. It's gotta be an all-out effort. We really got to push back against just this anti-democracy party that the Republicans have kind of become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've been in power for too long. So let's vote them out.
20 years too long. August 11th, Beto is going to be swinging through Fort Worth on his 49-day drive tour. So stay posted for details. And then we've got an upcoming town hall on August 27th. So again, more details coming. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, tarrantdemocrats.org/subscribe so you don't miss it. You get the bulletin brief. It's once a week. We try to pack everything in it, so it's like a one-stop shop for any events and fundraisers that the candidates are hosting, that we're hosting, volunteer opportunities within the community, and then just headline highlights that you need to know to stay informed and up to date. Try to really make it all inclusive if we can. Make it easy. We know everybody's busy. We get it.
Yeah. So being able to see everything in Rachel's really nice emails, hopefully it helps y'all. Share it with your friends too.
Yes. Sign them up,
Yeah. And we
All
kind
right.
of talked about the coordinated campaign, but I want to brag on you a little bit because you just finished our coordinated campaign website with all of our awesome resources. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So it's got everything I could think of to put on there, but it's got our candidate contact information for the public to access. Anybody can go on there, and it's got the public campaign link for them to contact them individually to learn more, as well as links to like all their social media in one place on one spreadsheet, links to the different precinct voting maps. We're going to be putting our coordinated campaign events on there, like the birthday bash, things like that. Other resources of like breakdowns of demographics of the county and the cities. So really, again, trying to just have it all in one place for the candidates, but for voters, for people who want to get involved and try to help. It's going to take all of us, just doing every little bit we can every day. I know it can feel overwhelming. Don't be overwhelmed. It's just do what you can where you're at. Start wherever you are, and do whatever you're capable of doing. It doesn't have to be like this big, huge, all or nothing type of thing. It's all of us just doing a little bit every day, working toward the same goal, which is a better Texas, a better Tarrant County for all of us, right?
Definitely, yeah. And it's about time. We need it. We need a big change.
It's about damn time.
It's about damn time. Yeah. I also want to show off our new coordinated campaign slate cards that you designed.
Yes.
They have every candidate that will be on the ballot in Tarrant County. And these are really cool because we have like all the candidates for state house. Say you live in House District 95, you would just highlight that one when you go block walking so that it can be personalized to your neighborhood. It's really cool. It has the voting top dates, the important election
The deadlines.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also a reminder, don't stop at the top. Let's get everybody elected.
That's right. Trying again to get it all in one place, make it easy to hand out, talk about, and they can take it into the voting booth with them. You are allowed to do that legally. So take it, highlight it, don't have to worry about it. Don't advise trying to have it on your phone because
you can't have phones.
That's going to be, that's not cool. So take the door hanger, take it with you, stick it in your glove box. That way you don't forget it. You get there, just pull it out, go vote. Done. Yeah. All right. So I thought we would try a new kind of little segment.
Okay.
Maybe.
I like new things.
I'm calling it Drags and Brags.
Ooh. Okay.
Yes. And okay. So we're gonna start out with the drags because we always want to end with some good news, not start with not end with the bad news. Start with the good news. Or start with the bad news, end with the good news. I know what I'm saying. Okay. So, a drag. Senate Republicans just voted against capping insulin at $35 a month. So there was a provision that was put forth in the Senate and voted on, and Democrats overwhelmingly all supported it. And this would have capped insulin costs for diabetics in America for private, not just Medicare and Medicaid recipients, but for private insurance. So across the board at $35 a month. So that way you're not being held hostage by your illness and the medicine that you require to sustain a healthy, normal life.
Yeah.
Right. And Cruz and Cornyn said no.
Boo.
Yeah. So explain that one, guys. Like, what? How many of their constituents? Let me put it this way: how many Republican voters out there, independent voters, anybody that voted for these clowns, is that what you want? Like, you want government to not help diabetics and make them pay more simply because they were unfortunate enough to have diabetes or get diabetes?
Make that make sense. I mean,
Make that
it's like follow the money sort of thing, right?
Mm,
Who is funding these candidates? Pharmaceutical
big
companies
pharma.
they want to keep making the profits. They don't care if people can't afford the medication.
I know. Well, I mean, it just, you've got literally half the Senate. You've got the Senate Democrats fighting for just everyday people, like saying, hey, this is just kind of a baseline, basic, decent, consideration. Like the pharmaceutical companies can still make their money off of the drugs that they're manufacturing because they are providing a product, right? But we're going to do it within reason because it shouldn't be to the risk of the patient. And they're just the Senate, like Cornyn and Cruz, are like, no, it's not a big enough profit. Like,
we've already seen news stories of people who have died because they've tried to either ration their insulin or they just couldn't afford it because they had to pay rent.
Yeah.
And like that's just going to continue happening if we can't help these people by capping it at $35 a month. Which for some people that's still a big drop in the bucket.
It really is. And I just, again, I don't see the logic. Like, even if you come at it from the companies need the pharmaceuticals, they need to make their profit. They've made it hand over fist. Like, they're not hurting. They're making record profits. So that's not it. Like, I don't know. Don't their constituents also want affordable medicine?
I mean, don't they have? Sure. They probably have diabetic constituents.
Mm-hmm.
It's very likely. You don't care about those constituents?
Evidently not. But not only that. Okay, so think about it from like an economic, let's from the viewpoint of an employer. Okay, wouldn't you want your employees to have access to regular medicine that they need to function and thrive, instead of having it be all over the place and not reliable, not stable? Like, that would make them a better employee too. It's going to help them be more consistent and healthier. So like, it's good for everybody. They suck. They just suck.
It really does. It does suck.
Yeah,
and like
it sucks.
It's a human decency, basic human decency thing, and it just.
It really felt like a no-brainer. Like, this was not a hard vote.
Yeah.
And yet Republicans somehow are like, oh no, can't do it. So, yeah.
Such BS.
So, yeah. Well, we'll get to the brag in a minute. Okay, so the other drag is we need to meet some fundraising goals. So that is my kind of nice roundabout way of saying, buy your tickets to our birthday bash if you haven't already. Purchase your sign. Go to store.tarrantdemocrats.org and grab your merch, grab your shirt. All of these things help us raise funds for the coordinated campaign to provide the materials like the door hangers and things like that to our precinct chairs who are actively knocking doors and talking to voters and activating voters ahead of November 8th. It all helps. So if we want to do more of it, though, that costs money up front. It costs money to print these materials, right? So anything you can do to give and help us count on a steady budget is very helpful.
Yeah, so please contribute, help us out, help you out by helping us get these Dems elected.
Yes, like all the work on the website for the coordinated campaign, all these events that we're hosting, like the candidate forum we just had, the birthday bash coming up, all of these require time and labor and upfront cost. So, we're just putting it out there plain, contribute what you can. It's all appreciated. And again, it's all going to help because it's not enough to just send Beto to Austin, to the governor's mansion, which again, fully on board and very excited about. But it's not enough. He needs a state house full of Democrats to pass the agenda, because we have seen that Republicans, even though it's good for them and good for constituents, good for all of us, employers, employees, just everyday working people, we've seen that they're willing to just keep saying no, to keep obstructing any kind of progress, because they think that's what helps them keep power, and that will help them win the midterms. So we've got to send a message, and it can't be at the top. It's got to be all the way down. They can't be rewarded for voter suppression. They just can't.
Yep. Let's vote them out. Let's get rid of them.
Yes. Throw the bums out.
Yes. It's about damn time.
Yes. Yes, it is. All right. So brags. All right. So the big brag. We didn't get the insulin cap for private insurance, but what we did get was the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
Just saying. Way to go, Senate Dems, like Chuck Schumer. I am pleasantly surprised. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. It's about time. Inflation's been ridiculous.
It has.
This is a small step, but a big step at the same time.
The Republicans all tried to obstruct this. They tried to obstruct and stop it at every step. Mm-hmm. So while they are all complaining, Republicans are complaining about inflation, they are doing absolutely nothing to try to actually help that problem, to stop that problem. Yeah. But the Democrats did. Okay, do we want to talk about what's in it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it does fight inflation. In fact, I think it was The Economist has they have their own little story about it from the economic standpoint, which is really good, and I'll include it in the brief that goes out on Thursday. So again, tarrantdemocrats.org/subscribe if you'd like to make sure you get that weekly email from us. But The Economist had, I think it was 26 different economists, top economists, coming out and talking about how it really does help reduce cost. It does help with inflation, how we feel it in our pocketbook. I don't know about you, Iris. I'm not going to make assumptions. But my family, we do kind of live paycheck to paycheck. That's the reality for a lot of families. Mm-hmm. And so, anytime that we can scale back on the grocery bill when money is tight, things like that, we do it. This is going to actually help, though, with some of those costs, which I am very excited about. That's something I can feel almost immediately once they start rolling this out. Okay. Lowers energy cost by increasing green, clean production.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd love to hear it.
Yes. Reduces carbon emissions by roughly 40% by 2030.
Heck yeah.
And just imagine when, not if, when, because we are all doing the work, right? Everybody listening, we're doing the work. When we surprise everybody in the midterms and we hold on to the House and then we gain seats in the Senate, on top of electing a Democratic state house and a Democratic governor in Texas. Imagine what more we can do to reduce that. It won't be 40% by 2030. It could be 50% by 2030. There are so many innovative things we can do, not just at the federal level, but at the state level. But we have to have the people in power willing to do the things, right? Not protect their donors.
Mm-hmm. Their special interests instead of the actual community they represent.
Right. I mean, I'm excited because reducing carbon emissions, making a cleaner environment is going to be better for my kids. They're going to breathe better. Think about all the children with asthma, and environmental racism is a real thing, guys. Right. So all of those those big polluting plants and things are in neighborhoods that typically Republicans don't really give a they don't really give a damn. They put them in places they think people aren't going to complain and that their constituents will be okay. Mm-hmm. And it affects all of us, right? Carbon emissions and dangerous, ozone in the atmosphere. They don't just stick to certain areas; they migrate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things, right. Weather and whatnot. It gets spread around, so we're all getting the effects. It's never limited, and this will go a long way to helping everybody. Like that's so exciting, for that. What else? It allows Medicare to negotiate drug prices, and it caps the cost to the cost is capped at out of pocket $2,000, which is still kind of high, but that's okay. It is a vast improvement. Like I'm thrilled.
That is a big improvement, and I hope that helps the people who need it the most.
Same. Like no one should have to choose between grapes at the grocery store or their prescription that they need to survive and thrive. Yeah. Right? It shouldn't be a choice.
Yeah, we should be able to live, not just survive, but thrive.
Exactly. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you got to be able to live to pursue happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it lowers the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, lowers the premiums for millions of Americans. So again, it's making it much more affordable. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, like, that's awesome. Like, I used to have ACA healthcare, and towards the end, with the last administration, prices were going up, and it was getting ridiculous. And I'm chronically ill, so I take a lot of medications, and my premium being so expensive takes away from the money I can spend on my medications, on my doctor visits. So I think this will be really, really helpful to everyday Americans.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, again, it speaks to the mindset of Republicans that there was intentional sabotage during the Trump presidency to the ACA. They tried to break it. They tried their best to make people hate it, fear it. And again, for no really good reason except their donors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's funding these campaigns? It says a lot.
So some disinformation that I want to go ahead and combat, because we're already seeing Republicans lie about it, of course. There are no new taxes on families who make over $400,000, or not over, sorry, who make $400,000 or less. So I know my family definitely is in the or less category.
Same.
So I'm thrilled that we're going to have lower healthcare costs, cleaner air to breathe, and our taxes will not go up. That's awesome.
All good things.
Awesome, Dems. Awesome. Like, y'all really, I gotta say, I've been worried. I'm not gonna lie. I've been worried. Very happy with this. Like, truly thinking like, okay, when am I gonna get to the crappy part? Like, when am I gonna get to the part where I'm like, oh, they just, did the thing to make the deal. No, it's really well done. It's a good deal. Like, it's gonna help so many people.
Excuse me. I'm looking forward to.
Are you choked up?
Yes, I'm so emotional. No, my throat. I'm still recovering from COVID, so my throat's a little funky. I'm negative. I'm negative now.
I'm teasing.
I wouldn't be back at the office if I was still positive, I promise.
So what I really do like about this Inflation Reduction Act is that it kind of uses like it's not okay. So you've heard the idea of like the carrot and the stick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, So it does, it uses these two levers. It does incentives for private industry to make more renewable energy. And then it also incentivizes households to consume and use greener, cleaner energy sources.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really all carrot. Like, again, way to go, Dems. There's no stick. It's just carrots. It's all carrots.
We like carrots here. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. A really good part.
Okay.
It does raise taxes, or it raises new revenue through the new tax provision, which is going to fall on the country's largest corporations, the ones who got such a sweet giveaway during the Trump tax cuts, because remember, they got like 80% of the benefit of that. The bulk of it went to big corporations. Anyway, they are going to have to start paying.
Heck yeah.
The polluters, the people who have been writing the rules to benefit themselves and make all the taxpayers pay for the cleanup, now they got to start paying for some of the cleanup. Again, way to go, Dems.
Yeah.
Like, well done.
Dems get stuff done.
Yes. Dems deliver.
Yes.
That's the big one right now. It does fall short on a few things as far as like plugging some of the biggest gaps on the Affordable Care Act. But again, goes such a long, like this is the largest investment in climate change, in real work to reduce and roll back and fight against climate change, which we are seeing and feeling, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the cold now that we have to worry about our ACs going out or our grid being stable. It's now the heat. It's all the time, essentially. But it really does go a long way. It's the largest investment in 10 years. So think of how much wasted time under the orange tyrant that we had on this issue. And then look at Democrats. Like they are like, all right, we got to get serious. Here we go.
Heck yeah.
Loving it.
Here we go.
It.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. It's so cool. Like it's so, for so long, you know how many, but there's so many activists on the ground, especially around the environment and green and clean energy and climate change and seeing and knowing how hard this is right now, is in the present on all of us, despite them telling us this was all, years out, like we didn't have to worry about this for a while.
It's happening now.
No, it's happening. We're feeling it, but we're really going to address it, right? It's not just more speeches on the floor about it. It's real money where our mouth is, like going to address it. So I'm excited. I don't know if you could tell. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, we should be. This is really great.
Right. It really is. Okay. So moving on from our drags and brags, which I think we should keep because
I'd like it. That's a fun segment. Yeah.
We need to get like a fun little drag queen intro. So if there are any drag queens out there listening or watching, and you would like to, pro bono, because again, we need to raise funds. But if you would like to maybe record a little something for us, that would be amazing. I really want to go to a drag breakfast time or story time.
Oh, yes. They always look so fun.
They do look so fun. And at convention, the drag show.
I wish I had gone. It looks so fun.
We had Beyonce. We had Whitney. We had what was her name? She was so amazing. She was Latina.
Selena?
No, I would have remembered Selena. No, I forget. I'm so sorry. I'll have to find it and remember it for next time. But
was Lady Gaga in the room?
No, we didn't get a Lady Gaga.
Oh, okay.
But we did have another one that I swear looked like a real life Barbie. I mean, just gorgeous, like beautiful. I want like a makeup tip day because they were all just beautiful, beautiful. Okay, and amazing performers. Anyway, I digress. So, drag queens, just throwing it out there. Okay. Now on to news that we think you need to know. So, the big one. I think this one is probably not on a lot of people's radars, but I really, really think it needs to be. Governor Greg Abbott has appointed the officer indicted for misconduct during the George Floyd protest in Austin to the police regulatory agency. So there was an officer, Barry, and amongst the Austin officers, there were 19 that were indicted, charges were brought up against them for misconduct because they grievously wounded several people after shooting them with less lethal ammunition, but in the head. So those little like beanbag shots that they're supposed to use to like get protesters to disperse, calm down. First of all, they're not supposed to aim at the head, period, with those. Because the minute you point even the less lethal ammunition at the head, it becomes more lethal because of where you're aiming it. So should not have happened. Some of the victims included a 20-year-old black man that police said was not their intended target after a man nearby tossed a water bottle and backpack up towards police where they were in formation. So they shot at a black man. They also have video of them shooting at a 16-year-old Hispanic boy who collapsed to the ground after they fired the beanbag bullet at him, and he was standing alone near a freeway. Now, rioting, insurrection, not okay, not lawful. Protest, protected First Amendment speech. Mm-hmm. So these officers violated these protesters' First Amendment rights to protest and to speak out. That one of those guys is now going to oversee the police regulatory agency.
It's ridiculous.
That's who Governor Abbott has appointed. That is not unintentional. That is sending a message. And the message is clear that it's going to be Abbott's way or no way at all. Mm-hmm. And frankly, the free speech fanatic crowd is oddly silent on this one.
Right. Because it's only free speech when it's convenient.
Yeah. That's not how free speech works.
Right. Free speech for the select few.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with anti-choice protesters, but absolutely defend their right to protest. Because that's free speech. I don't like it. I don't agree with the sentiment at all. But again, absolutely will protect their right to free speech because I want to protect my own. Mm-hmm. And the minute we start picking and choosing, that's when we start seeing this slide into authoritarianism. That's what worries me. The tactics that were used were like heavily criticized because again, they injured and hurt 19 people who were there protesting their First Amendment right to protest. These officers, so the city of Austin, not the officers, not the ones who had the misconduct, but the city had to cover a $10 million civil settlement with two of the people shot by police. That's just two. So misconduct amongst officers that is not dealt with, that is not addressed, and now it's being promoted. What kind of message does that send? Mm-hmm. What does that tell the public?
Sorry, somebody was knocking on my door.
It's okay.
Oh, 1 second. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Pause.
Sorry. Here you go. Okay. Sorry. Somebody came in to get a yard sign, so we gotta take care of that real quick. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I had the credit card scanner in my bag.
That's okay. Sell those signs.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, like, I really do worry. Back to what we were talking about. I really do worry about the message that this sends to the public. Putting a guy like this in charge of regulating all the other officers, what kind of permission structure is that sending? Like, hey, you can violate people's personal constitutional rights because we're going to back whatever you do. Like, again, where is the free speech crowd? Where are all of y'all? Like, where are you? Libertarians, people who are not cool with this kind of stuff. Where are you? Why are you quiet?
This is just so ridiculous. I don't even know where to start. Because obviously he's using this for political points, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain crowd that will be very happy with this.
This is a dog whistle to the MAGA mob. This is absolutely a dog whistle to the MAGA mob. And I mean, like, they're not just sitting idly by, right? They know we are working, so they are working too. Question is, who's going to work harder?
Who is going to work harder? It's us.
We're going to win it.
We are. Yeah. I don't know why we're whispering. Yeah, we're going to win. I know.
Damn right. Damn right. We're going to win this thing. Yes. Right. Yeah. So this guy that he appointed to Texas Regulatory Law Enforcement Agency, Justin Berry, he also had previously run for State House and lost in 2020 maybe. Or anyway, he ran and lost. So Abbott, when he endorsed him in the race, said, strong conservative values and experience stopping violent crime are exactly what we need in the Texas House. Again, he violated completely lawful Texans' constitutional rights. That's not, no. It's just not.
Make it make sense, Rachel.
I mean, the press has been asking Abbott, and I hope they continue to ask him, like, hey, why him? Why him? Why are you promoting somebody who violates constitutional rights and cost taxpayers money with that behavior? Like, none of these things are endorsements or good reasons to appoint him to that agency to oversee other officers.
Yeah, it's just not.
I mean, I really would love to see, Fort Worth Police Department, Tarrant County Sheriffs, Arlington ISD, Police Department, all of the major police departments. I would love to see them speak out, because this is not. I don't think that's what they even want. I don't think that officers want to promote that type of person to oversee everybody, because the message that sends, that makes their job harder. It makes that relationship with the police that are there, again, to protect and serve the public, the community, which includes those protesters. Whether you agree with it or not, it includes them. I don't think they want their job to be made harder by this. And I think that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to make a more suspect kind of relationship. And I think it's terrible. And I would love to see more questions of Governor Abbott, because he's really good at avoiding comments. He's really good at avoiding having to go on the record a lot. and kind of controlling his own narrative. But he needs to be questioned more. Like,
No,
is
he
that
does.
what he's? Yeah, is
Let's
that
hold
what he
him
really
accountable.
wants to send to the public? I don't respect constitutional rights of free speech.
And it's just going to create further distrust.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I'm worried because this is just, it's a move in the wrong direction. I agree. They interviewed the Mothers Against Police Brutality co-founder, Sarah Mercuria. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry, Sarah. But in the same article, and again, this will be in the bulletin brief, this is an indicted officer who is now part of the body licensing and regulating law enforcement agencies. It's a move in the wrong direction, and it makes us unsafe. And quite frankly, it's a message that has been reiterated from the governor's mansion over and over again, whether that be families in Uvalde who are not safe to send their kids to school, or all Texas residents during the winter storm. Our lives and our safety have consistently been put at risk because of Governor Abbott. She's not wrong. I mean, that's spot on.
No, it really is. That's a powerful quote.
Yeah. So I just, again, like, where are the questions for Governor Abbott and why this is his pick? I mean, we all see it. Like, call him out, please, people.
Don't let him get away with it. Also, like, why is he appointing people less than 100 days away from the election?
I mean, why did Amy Coney Barrett get on the Supreme Court, even though it was an election year and that was their own stupid standard that no longer was a standard? Like, it doesn't matter. It's a power play. They don't care about long-term health of our country and our democracy and our state for our children. It's just power for themselves.
I wish they put people first, but they're not Democrats, so
yeah. Donors before the people.
Sadly.
I mean, we saw it with the insulin. We're seeing it with this appointment by Governor Abbott. I mean, like, they're showing us who they are. Believe them. Believe them.
Yeah, they're not even trying to hide it at this point. No.
I mean, we're having struggles throughout the summer with our grid and worrying about how stable and reliable it's going to maintain during this time, during this time. And, you know, at the same time, all that's happening, we're learning about the $4.6 million to the Republicans to not do anything to regulate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're showing us who they are. Believe them. Believe them.
And like summer energy bills are pretty high too, because we're still paying off the cost of what the power grid failure did to us.
Yep.
That cost went straight back to the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, the Abbott tax on all of our electric bills. Yeah, not the same burden on businesses. Oddly, it's just spread to the residents. I wonder why. You know. Yeah. Okay, so another local story that caught my eye. Code violations are concentrated. So this was Fort Worth report. So it is Fort Worth. But code violations were concentrated in some of Fort Worth's most impoverished neighborhoods, the data has shown. Now, they have code compliance officers that drive through the neighborhoods, the different areas, and then they write them tickets. So, like, if their lawn's overgrown, they need to cut it back, things like that. The problem I see with this is that they're fining people who already have trouble affording the fines. And I think the reason I chose to talk about this one, I think it's a really good illustration of the difference between Democrats and Republicans. So Republicans see this issue and they're like, all right, go find them. Just all the officers, keep finding them till they comply and they do what we're telling them to do. At the same time they're doing that, they are every year shifting resources away from derelict buildings and litter abatement and shifting that instead towards the enforcement of high grass and weed violations. So like overgrown lawns during the peak growing season. So instead of cleaning up and really dealing with the bigger issues, they're going for the low-hanging fruit, and they're doing it off the backs of people who already struggle to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
That's republicanism.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they won't cap insulin. Again, making sure that the big pharma companies get their profit off the backs of people who already struggle to afford it. Instead of cleaning up the messes of big businesses, they're spending our taxpayer dollars to try to get more money from people who already can't afford it, instead of trying to do programs that might help them deal with the overgrown lawn. Can we have common sense again, please?
That'd be really nice. That would be really, really, really nice.
Yeah. I mean, common sense would be great. All right. Lastly, because school is right around the corner, so I know it's very top of mind for me with my kids. Am I boring you, Iris?
No, I'm sorry. I just haven't had any coffee today.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. So last thing we're going to talk about, and we got just a few minutes to kind of recap it and finish it. I know I have school on my mind because it's right around the corner for my kids. They're about to start back. A lot of the articles and things that I'm seeing are making it this mix of concern and worry and anxiety as a parent, when it shouldn't be that. Because there's been no special session since Uvalde, which happened on May 24th of this year. There's been no special session. There has been nothing done to actually address the weapon that is able to kill a massive amount of people in a very short, efficient amount of time. Mm-hmm. That's the environment we're sending our children back to school in. So like a couple of articles caught my eye. One of them was, the headline is How North Texas Schools Plan to Keep Your Kids Safe. Quote, "We don't get a second chance."
It's terrifying, but true.
Yeah. The other one is School Safety Expert Offers Tips for Texas Parents as Students Return to the Classroom. Again, thinking about Uvalde, mm-hmm. which was only months ago in May. And the parents and the video that got released of the parents outside screaming to get in when, over 370 officers heard that inside, heard the screams of those children and froze.
Did nothing.
None of that makes me feel like we have made the world, or even attempted to make our schools truly safer, because the issue, yes, we've got to lock doors. We've got to make schools as safe as possible. We've done school hardening. Okay. Mm-hmm. We had the Santa Fe High School shooting in Texas in, I think, 2017, 18 or 19, just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. We hardened our schools. That was a whole big push, not to deal with the guns, but to harden our schools. And we've still had more shootings.
Something's not
looser gun laws, mm-hmm. school hardening, but looser gun laws, and we're still having more shootings. So my question is, why haven't we called a special session?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have children, but I'm concerned for your kids, my nephews, like It's a scary time. And I wish our government was doing more to help parents and kids feel safe while they just go back to school.
I mean, I don't understand how Republicans can proclaim themselves to be the pro-life party.
Mm-hmm.
And they're literally not lifting a finger to protect life.
Mm-hmm.
Already existing here, breathing, walking, talking life. And they're doing nothing. There is no special session from Governor Abbott. None. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want us to keep talking about it. He doesn't want to deal with it because he doesn't want to upset his MAGA mob that he is dog whistling to,
Mm-hmm.
that he thinks is going to be the thing that saves him. So how do you call yourself pro-life if that's your tactic? If that's your concern, is how to save your own self and stay in office?
It's extremely hypocritical.
We can do better. We deserve better.
Yeah, we do. We really
Right?
do.
We really do.
We shouldn't be.
I mean, go ahead.
I don't know. Like, we shouldn't be concerned about our kids' safety when they go to school. Like, that's supposed to be a safe place for them to learn, to meet friends, to develop into the people they're going to develop to be. And instead, like, they have to be concerned with getting shot in their classroom. Like, it's just.
Well, and the other thing is, again, we've had school hardening because that's going to come up. I guarantee you, the minute that people start really pushing back, because again, 0 special sessions, 0, none since it happened months ago. And actively trying to shift the conversation away from it, to not deal with it. The pro-life governor doesn't want to deal with having to address gun violence because he thinks that might make him lose an election. It's not about serving the public. It's about himself. Mm-hmm. And I mean, how much further are we going to harden schools? How much more of a prison are we going to turn them into? And how do we do that with all of society? Like, how do we make everything a non-soft target? You can't. You have to deal with the gun issue. You have to address gun violence. And you know what works? Gun reform. Mm-hmm. Gun safety measures work.
Yeah.
And we've got one party in Texas actively trying to just not talk about it. Like, that's the craziest part to me. They're just trying to not talk about it like it didn't exist. And that's horrifying. It's got to be horrifying for those parents.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's kind of sad that, like, both a fetus and a gun have more rights than a third grader in their classroom. It's ridiculous. It does not.
No. And
so
again, angry. Which, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't see how they can't keep getting rewarded. They just can't, right? It's going to take all of us having these kind of conversations with our families. Like, there are people who might vote Democrat sometimes, but most of the time they vote Republican. They know better. Like, they know that they see what's going on. And I do have faith that they're going to say, enough. This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You're not doing anything you're claiming you're doing. You're not protecting life. You're actively avoiding doing anything about it. You're worried about yourself. I think the public's had enough.
I definitely have.
I mean, like the tragedy of it all really is coming into focus. El Paso Representative Joe Moody, you know, when this happened in his area, in his city, he went on the record at the committee hearings and was saying, we're not doing anything. This will happen again. And guess who's now helping the families in Uvalde try to confront this issue? That representative, Joe Moody, the one who said, if we continue to do nothing, this will happen again. And guess what? He was right.
Yeah.
So we've got to stop listening. We've got to stop allowing the governor to try to spin into a different issue or a different thing and you know, avoid accountability. That's what he's trying to do, is avoid accountability.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We can't let him get away with it. No, he needs to know that we're paying attention and we're tired of this BS. We're tired of it.
All the Republicans do, because Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he's the one who sets the Senate agenda at the State House. Mike Collier has a plan to fix the damn grid. He has a plan to get serious about protecting reproductive rights and restoring equality for women and non-binary and pregnant people across the state, because there are no equivalent laws on the other side for men. So we have a real opportunity, and anybody listening, thank you for listening. Do what you can where you are. It really is that simple. It's just doing a little bit every day.
Yeah, just have a conversation with somebody. That's a huge start. Huge start.
Really.
Get people to think about how these decisions are affecting our everyday lives. Like connecting the pieces, connecting the dots, will really help get people out to the ballot box in November. Yeah,
I mean, is it make more sense to try to have children investing in Kevlar lined backpacks at school, or does it make more sense to say, you know what, 18-year-olds shouldn't be able, within days of turning 18, no background check, no permit, no training, be allowed to go buy a weapon of mass destruction? Like, it's pretty common sense. I feel like that's a fairly easy answer on that one. You know?
I agree.
Yeah. Like, what is that really what we want to teach our children? Is that should be your expectation at a place of learning and love and growth, and socialization and community should become a potential war zone, and you need to always have that in the back of your head as a child? Or do we need to just regulate who has easy access to these guns?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a lot simpler to do the second half.
Yeah.
And it would be, I don't know, the mental toll of having to get these Kevlar backpacks, of having to do these drills on these children, like the toll of that, we're creating trauma. We're creating trauma in these young kids.
We're creating a whole another really, though, because it's not stopping. Like, there was all the same gun violence trauma related to school when I was in school. I mean, so we're either going to keep perpetuating that for our kids and their kids, which I don't want that for my children. I don't want that for my grandkids, should I have any one day. I want to create a saner world.
That makes, yeah.
It'd just be nicer too. It'd be nicer to live in, right? You know, like when you get road rage, you don't have to worry about being shot. Just maybe flipping the bird. Like, can we get back to that, please? Can we please?
That'd be really nice.
Okay, so I think that about wraps it up, and we are going to have our wonderful guest, Tiffany Burks, joining shortly.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Tiffany, how are you?
I'm well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right. So let me give you just a moment to kind of introduce yourself, let everybody know your name, where they can look up more information about you, maybe donate to you, and what you're running for. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. So my name is Tiffany Burks. I am running for the office of Tarrant County District Attorney. You can find me on, I'm everywhere, but my website is tiffanyburks4da.com. And so you can go to my website. You can learn all about, my background. You can learn about my platform issues. You can even donate to my campaign. There's a donate button at the bottom of the website. And you can also volunteer if you want to get involved and help with the campaign in any way. Volunteers is how we win. I mean, I can't do this by myself. None of the candidates can. And so we rely on a lot of volunteers to help us with block walking, phone banking, just finding me on Facebook and sharing, information about my campaign is helpful. And so I'm speaking of Facebook, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and my nieces told me I had to get on TikTok.
Yes.
So I'm on TikTok, but I'm also on LinkedIn too, for the business crowd. So I'm there also.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're in all the places.
I'm everywhere. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, well, thank you for sharing all that. And you make a wonderful point. Volunteers, Democrats are people powered, as we've seen with the Beto campaign, all the way down to these local races that have such a big impact. Let's kind of start there, shall we? I loved what you said at our candidate forum on July 30th. How you were talking about kind of, the discretion that a DA has. Could you maybe just expand on that a little bit for the audience, kind of tell them about, the function of a DA, but also, the nuance to it that you alluded to back at the forum?
Sure, absolutely. So let me just start by saying that I'm a 25-year prosecutor. So I started prosecuting in 1997. I made a career of it. I truly believe that prosecution is a public service. Like, we provide a public service to the community. And that public service can be anywhere from protecting the rights of victims to even protecting the rights of the accused. Because as prosecutors and as public servants, it's our responsibility to see that justice is done. And so when I have gone out over the last 25 years to talk to people about what I do, the one thing that I want them to know about prosecutors, about good prosecutors, is that it's our responsibility to seek justice, not to seek convictions. And if we are doing that, if we're seeking justice, then justice can be any number of things. It could be anything from dismissing a case, or it could be, all the way up to life in prison, whatever justice looks like. And so I try very hard when I'm out and about to explain to people that nuance that you're talking about, which is prosecutors have a level of discretion that no other lawyers have. And that discretion is a good thing, and it's very powerful. But in the wrong hands, it could be detrimental and it can be bad. And so that discretion is what we utilize when we're looking at cases to figure out what the right thing is to do under the circumstance. And for me, my mantra has always been to do the right thing for the right reasons. And that is what that prosecutorial discretion means to me. But yeah, I've been doing this for, 25 years, as I said. And I made a career out of it because I truly, as you just said, Rachel, the Democratic Party is all about people power. And, I have been preaching that my campaign is about people and not politics. So we need to get back to the business in Tarrant County of serving the community, of being public servants, of doing what it is the people need us to do, and not pandering to political ideologies because we want to stay in office. And that's just my personal views.
I mean, it really does feel I mean, I know I'm biased. I'll admit that. But it really does feel like you're trying to bring the humanity back to that office.
That's
I mean, you're very even-handed. You're talking not just about the victims, but also the accused and protecting their rights because they still maintain rights. They are still people. And beautifully said. I don't know what to say. It's just I really feel like you're trying to bring that humanity back, and that honor and that dignity to that position. That prosecutorial discretion is powerful. It is powerful because I think in the wrong hands, it sounds like you could choose to proclaim that it's because of that, but then it's actually maybe helping out a buddy by not looking too far into something. So,
Yeah, that's right. And when you say bring the humanity back,
mhm.
everything about the criminal justice system deals with human capital. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. That's what we deal with on a daily basis. It is very heavy in dealing with people, and trying to respond to the needs of people, the concerns of people, and also to respond to how we hold people accountable when they wrong us. I mean, that's part of it too. And so human capital you have to have the right type of leadership, I think, in this role, because you are dealing with so many segments of our population, people who come from different walks of life. And as prosecutors, and as a prosecutor for me for 25 years, I've had to meet people where they are. And if a person where they are is in a mansion, or if where they are is, on a street corner, I have to be able to go to those individuals, those people in our community, and treat them with the level of dignity and respect that they deserve, by nature of being a human being.
Beautifully stated. So, as a district attorney, who are kind of the different people that you would interact with in your daily job?
Sure. So, as a district attorney, I will be interacting with the commissioner's court.
Okay.
You may have had Deborah Peoples on the show, and maybe Elisa Simmons maybe on the
Not
show at some.
yet, but
Not yet.
soon we hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they are individuals that I would be in constant contact with, because they are basically the management for the entire county. And as the district attorney, a lot of people don't realize in Tarrant County, the criminal district attorney not only prosecutes people for criminal conduct, but they also represent the county. And so I will be representing Deborah Peoples when she's elected, and Elisa Simmons when she's elected. I'll be representing the sheriff, and anything that goes on within the county, I will be responsible for. So that's everything from a contract with whatever company provides food service in the jail, all the way up the
Okay.
chain to the county commissioner, the county judge. And so I'll be interacting with a lot of elected officials. I will be interacting with a lot of judges. As you know, here in Tarrant County, we have a huge backlog of cases because of COVID.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I'm going to have to do is sit down with the judges, sit down with members of the defense bar, sit down with my own team of prosecutors, and figure out how we go about doing the business of justice in an efficient way, but in a way that we don't neglect people's their constitutional rights. So I'll be interacting with a lot of people. But one of the groups that I'm really excited about working with are the people that are watching the show. Because, we, again, I can't stress this enough, but everyone who's running for office is a public servant. We serve the public, we serve the people, we serve
Yes.
the community. And so we have to know what the needs of the community are, and listen to those concerns so that we make sure that we're doing our jobs as well as we can.
So, what is your plan to make sure you are able to hear and get that feedback from the community once
You know,
elected? What does that look like? I guess.
well, for me, what it looks like is two things. One, I want
Okay.
to put groups together, and I haven't quite decided how I'm going to go about this, but I definitely want to have advisory groups or panels that include people from different segments of our community that I can sit down with on a pretty regular basis and talk with them about what's going on in their various communities. The other thing that I would really love to do, which I don't know if anyone has ever done this before, but I would love to host town halls throughout the county. There are 4 commissioner courts in this county. And if I hit each commissioner's court, working with the county commissioner, if I hit each one of those precincts, I can do that at a quarterly basis. So I can do precinct 1 in the first quarter, precinct 2 in the second quarter, and so on. But having a town hall is something that I really am interested in doing. And I'd love for people to come out and ask me questions and to be able to answer whatever questions I can.
Love that. I don't think I recall having a district attorney hold a town hall. I don't think ever that I can remember anyway. So yeah, that sounds like a very thought out.
Yeah, and for me, it is a time to really do more listening than it is talking. Sometimes we talk too much, quite frankly, and we don't listen to what other people have to say. And so I would utilize that as an opportunity to hear what people have to say. I would certainly try to answer whatever questions I can. But for me, the bigger goal is to listen. And so I would want to do that.
Wonderful. So what would you say to a voter who says, what's the big difference between you and your opponent?
Well, I would identify, I think, 3 major differences. The first difference, I think, is experience level. I know that he has been a judge for a number of years, but the level of cases that he's worked on are typically what we consider the lower level misdemeanor cases. And so over the span of my career, I've worked on some of the more high level, more complex felony level cases. And because of that, that has given me a certain level of experience and understanding of legal issues that he may not ever come in contact with. And so, and also because of that, I've had an opportunity to also not just experience with cases, but also experience with people. Again, we're back to the people. I keep stressing that. But, when you try a capital murder case, or you try a gang case, or you try, a kidnapping case or a sexual assault case of a 5-year-old, right? You come in contact with people from all ages, all backgrounds, all experiences. And so that's something that I bring to the table. And it's that empathy piece that I think you mentioned earlier. So that's the first part, experience. The second thing I think is leadership. As a DA, ADA for the last 20 plus years, I was promoted to the rank of deputy chief and of the criminal division. And doing that meant I had to supervise and manage and mentor hundreds of I shouldn't say hundreds, about 150 lawyers. Okay. And so during that time, I understood what leadership meant and what it means. Leadership isn't about telling people what to do. Leadership is action. It's mentorship. It's showing people. And I don't know a better way to show people what it means to be an effective prosecutor than to have an effective prosecutor lead a team. And so leadership is something that I think that I have over my opponent. And then the third thing, and we just keep talking about it, but it's really an ability to meet people where they are. There are people in that office right now who call and they text me and they're like, "We hope you win, please win, because we know that you're going to come into the office, you're going to respect us, you're going to train us, you're going to mentor us." And that's what a lot of people are looking for. They're not just looking for experience or leadership, but they're just looking for someone who's a people person that people can talk to, that they can trust, and that they can get along with. And so those are three things I think that are really important in this job, and those are the ways that I differentiate myself from my opponent.
So I do want to talk a little more about your opponent. And I think those are some wonderful qualities that you mentioned. And again, it all, to my mind, to my ears, really feels like you're just trying to bring that human component back to it, back to justice. Because, I mean, justice is not just about the accused or the victim. It's a whole community that it affects and impacts. So really bringing that piece back that I think a lot of us feel with all the turmoil of the last 6 years.
Yes.
That really feels like it's a piece that's been neglected too long. And so I just really appreciate your words and your speaking on that. Very excited about a district attorney, Tiffany Burks. It sounds like several others are as well. Just to clarify for the audience, ADA is assistant district attorney?
Yes.
Or deputy attorney? Is that okay?
Assistant district attorney, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying that. I'm sorry.
I know. We're all used to the acronyms, so I always, anytime there's an acronym, I'm like, let's make sure everybody understands, because they can just, fly by without thinking sometimes. So your opponent is Republican Phil Sorrells. Okay. And he is very publicly endorsed by the former president, who you might be the perfect person to talk to about this, Tiffany. So just last night, there was breaking news.
Yes.
And you might be able to give us a little insight because of your background and your wonderful legal knowledge. So the former president had his home raided by the FBI. Yes. And that is who your opponent is very publicly embracing and supported and endorsed by.
Yes.
So do you know, have you seen the breaking news? Have you looked at any of that? Okay.
I have. And so interesting that you bring that up, because I actually talked about it last night at one of the Democratic Club meetings.
Oh, okay.
But two things that I want to point out about it. Number one, before FBI agents or law enforcement, sorry, I'm next to a fire station.
No, I think that's a sign. Just kidding.
But before law enforcement can go into your home, they have to have a search warrant.
There's a process.
There's a process.
Okay.
And what some people understand, and some people may not, is that before you can get a search warrant, you have to have identified information that would tend to connect what you're looking for to where you're looking for it, right? Okay. And so I say that to say there's a document, it's called the search warrant affidavit, that a law enforcement officer has to swear to, swear that everything that's in here is true and correct. And it has to enumerate, what it is they're looking for and why it is they believe they can find it at this specific location. Now, that's not enough, though, to go into someone's house. Once they have drafted this affidavit and the search warrant, the next step is to take it to a neutral and detached magistrate, a judge. Okay. And so there are checks and balances that are going on here. So 2 points I want to make is, when our former president says that this is prosecutorial misconduct, this doesn't have a whole lot to do with the prosecutor at this point, right? It's law enforcement utilizing the information that they have to connect a possible crime evidence in a location in an affidavit that they swear to, and then they take it to a judge who has to review it and sign it. And that's the big part. So a judge has reviewed it, found that there is probable cause to believe that what the police are searching for can be found in this location. And then they are the ones that gave the FBI, in this case, permission to go into the former president's home. And so that's a big deal, because I don't want people, a lot of people think this, this is a witch hunt, this is prosecutorial misconduct. No, there is a process, and there are things legally that have to be done before you can just go into somebody's house.
I mean, the way you're explaining it, thank you so much for that. I mean, that was great explanation. The way I just want to make sure I'm understanding and help make sure the audience will understand as well. It really does sound like that whole process, it truly is strictly just kind of a law enforcement act, as opposed to really having anything to do at all with the prosecutor or the criminal side of that, as far as looking further into potential crimes, right? This is just a law, like fact-finding type of thing by law enforcement.
Yes. Now, I will say that, yes, you are correct, probably 95%. There is that 5% there, and the reason I say that is because there are times where law enforcement and prosecution, they do speak to one another, because the prosecutors are the experts, right, on whether or not a case, if there is a case or a case can be presented and so forth. And so I've heard in the media that the FBI did speak with the Attorney General, who signed off on it. But in the grand scheme of things, it is law enforcement who swears to the affidavit, to the information, and a neutral and detached magistrate, a judge, who has to sign off on it. And that part of the equation is the biggest part.
Okay. And I mean, I do want to point out, from the public reporting on this that I've read, the judge that oversaw this was actually a federal judge that was appointed under the Trump administration.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I didn't know that.
Okay.
And I had just told someone I want to find out if the judge was someone who was appointed during the Trump administration. So that's another interesting little nugget, a little piece.
Well, and the FBI director it's still the same one that was appointed again under the Trump administration. That was his choice.
I knew about Chris Wray. I just wasn't sure if the judge was, but yeah, I mean, so here's the part that I want to say to everyone who's watching.
Okay.
This is the reason what you're seeing going on with our former president. This is the reason that politics in our criminal justice system is not good. Okay.
Yes.
We need to be about the business of seeking the truth, searching for the truth, and holding people accountable regardless of what their political affiliations are, regardless of, who they know. And that's what justice is all about at the end of the day. Justice is all about doing the right thing for the right reasons, not concerning yourself with, political partisanship, parties, ideologies, and all of that. And that's what's important to me as your next DA. I say it all the time. I'm people over politics. And for me, that's true. I have my own personal views, political views, of course. I'm a Democrat. I'm running in the Democratic Party because their views more align with me than the Republican Party. But as your next DA, I have to be able to filter, if you will, my own personal beliefs and make sure I'm doing the right thing for the citizens of this county. And that's what I plan to do.
Well said. Well said. And I mean, again, I think pursuing and following the facts as they are, and going through the process, like you very well laid out for us. Thank you again for that. I mean, to me, that feels like rule of law, that you're following the facts where they go, and truly no one could be above the law. And this is not a sitting president, it is a former president. And there is precedent across the world for following the facts, following the rule of law, and pursuing them wherever that may lead.
That's right. And that's what we should be about in the criminal justice system.
Agreed. So I do want to bring this back, and kind of wrap. We'll kind of end on this if that's all right with you. But your opponent has talked about he's been kind of hinting at the narrative around the big lie about potential election integrity issues, kind of feeding into that a little bit. And as the local Democratic Party, we are very concerned about the right to vote and protecting that individual right, and removing a lot of the burdens that are unnecessarily placed on it. I'm just curious how you view that right, and through the lens of a district attorney, what kind of impact you can have on that in that position with that elected office. What does that look like?
So, we just spent a lot of time talking about the rule of law and making sure that people are held accountable. And so what that looks like for me is, we follow the evidence wherever it leads us. And if there are people who violate our laws when it comes to casting ballots, then it's certainly our responsibility to investigate that. And if we find that there is something to it, to prosecute it. But having said that, let me say this. That prosecutorial discretion that we've been talking about, it doesn't just say we have to follow the law. It also says that we have to see that justice is done. And I want people to understand that just because the law says something is against the law doesn't mean that prosecuting it is the just thing to do under the circumstances. Okay. Does that make sense? And so I'll give you an example. I'll give you a real quick example to make it plain. Let's say that someone is arrested for possession of marijuana. They've never been in trouble with the law before. And the law says right now in Texas, even though I'm hoping that we may change that law sometime in the future, but the law says that it is against the law to possess a usable quantity of marijuana, under 2 ounces. That is the law. Okay. But if you have someone who violates that law for the first time, and they have some circumstances surrounding them that mitigates it and makes you as a prosecutor say, you know what, I don't think the just thing to do is to send this person to jail. I think the just thing to do in this circumstance is to send this young man or young woman to a drug class, let them take a course, and then dismiss the case. Right? So in that regard, we're still prosecuting the case. The person still violated the law, but we determined based on the facts and circumstances that the just thing to do wasn't to send this person to jail or place them on probation. And so when we're talking about election laws and when we're talking about issues with voting, the voting right is such a precious one. It is one that every person should have the right to. We should be very careful about prosecuting people who are trying their hardest to follow the law, but also to exercise their constitutionally protected right to vote. And so that's where I stand on it. We just have to be very careful because it is a right. It is a right afforded and enumerated in the Constitution. And so as DA, it'll be my responsibility to balance law violations with what justice is and what that looks like. Right. And that's what I plan to do.
And so that might go to, I guess, intent. And that's where that discretion comes in. So, for example, and I if you can't speak on this for reasons because it may still be before and I'm not aware of it, please let me know. But Crystal Mason was prosecuted and through all accounts, had no intention of violating the law, but was very harshly, prosecuted and sentenced compared to some other counterparts. Yes. So,
I will say that Crystal Mason's case is one of those cases where prosecuting that, in my opinion, wasn't the just thing to do. Okay. And I mean, when you talk about whether or not someone intentionally violated the law or not, I mean, that matters. Right. When you look at someone's mental state and what their intentions were or what they knew at the time that they did something, and I think, I don't want to belabor the point, but if there are issues related to someone's mental state and whether or not they intended or knew what they were doing, then the just thing to do is not to prosecute individuals for those types of offenses. And so we just have to look very carefully at the cases, look very carefully at the facts, and again, be very considerate of the fact that every individual has a right to vote, and they want to do that. I shouldn't say every individual. I guess some people don't lose the right to vote, which is another conversation entirely, right?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
Another conversation entirely. But right now, the state of the law is that there are some people who can lose their right to vote. But for those who have not, we should be doing everything we can to give voice to people's votes and not stifling those voices.
Well, and that a follow-up question, if you will. So again, I just want to kind of reiterate and make it plain for the audience here. There's some discretion, obviously, with what you pursue or don't pursue as far as their intent, things like that. What would be your focus? Like, is there a bigger emphasis on, for example, your opponent is very heavily in the rhetoric of illegals on his campaigning and demonizing that, even though we are quite a ways from the border, and
Right.
that is a actual federal immigration. Immigration is a federal issue, correct? I believe
It is.
right. So what would be the focus of a Tiffany Burke's district attorney versus your opponent's kind of emphasis on looking further south?
So I think the big difference between myself and my opponent on those issues is that I want to focus on the issues that are happening right now in our county that we can fix.
Right here.
Right here. Like right
Yeah.
here. And, I know my opponent talks a lot about things like CRT and
Yes.
about, the border and all of that. As your next DA, those are not issues that will really come into play within my office. Like, those are issues for your legislative candidates, but not for the DA, not for a DA race. And so my focus is going to be on, I think, issues that really matter to everyday citizens here in Tarrant County. And for me, the most pressing issues, I think, are our violent crime rates have gone up.
Yes.
Although I've just read some studies that they've been coming down a little bit, so that's
Well,
good
that's
news.
good.
Gun violence is big, it's huge, and so we need to work on issues of gun violence. We need to work on issues related to our youthful offenders, our juveniles. That has been a concern throughout our county. And the other issues that I really want to talk about are mental health, drug addiction, and our homelessness and poverty issues that we have in this country. Because I can tell everyone who's watching that the majority of cases that come through the DA's office are touched in some way by either someone who suffers from a mental health issue, an addiction issue, or issues of homelessness and poverty. So instead of us talking about these kind of made up issues that we hope will be red meat for certain voters to come to the polls and vote, I would prefer that we talk about those issues that really, really matter to the citizens of this county, and where we can not only make safe communities by keeping people accountable for their conduct, but we can also try to work on making whole communities by helping those individuals who find themselves in our criminal justice system for one of those issues that I just discussed. And so that's my platform. I'm about safe communities, but I'm also about trying to make whole communities as well.
It sounds like you're thinking not just short term, but really long term. Again, the three issues you mentioned: addiction, homelessness, mental health. Often can all three be present in some form or have kind of a trifecta effect.
Absolutely.
So it really feels, again, that just bringing that humanity, but that even-handedness back to the district attorney's office, and really focusing in here at home on our community, and uplifting, through this process, through that humanity, really uplifting the community. So thank you so much. Any last minute, fundraisers you've got coming up you'd like to let people know about, events where they can see you, pick up a sign?
Yes. So first, let me just say thank you for having me. It is going to take all of us, to make changes in our community. And when I say all of us, I mean, you need everyone who's watching, go find 5 or 10 people, call them and say, you got to vote. And then schedule a time where all of you can go to the polls on a Saturday, you vote together, and then go celebrate your vote. Celebrate your right to vote and celebrate the change that you're bringing to Tarrant County. I have, if you go to my website, tiffanyburksforda.com, and click on the Get Involved tab, you can see all of my events that are coming up. I have Breakfast with Tiffany, and I have one this Saturday at a Session Coffee in Fort Worth from 9 to 11. So look us up. And if anyone wants to donate, you can go to that same website and do that. We could certainly use any contributions that anyone can provide. So thank you for having me, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Quick question. Do you Audrey Hepburn at those Breakfasts with Tiffany?
Yeah, I'm Audrey.
You're Audrey. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you again for your time, and wonderful information. Our next district attorney, Tiffany Burks, wonderful, moderate, even-handed, but so much empathy and humanity. So thank you again for your time. Can't wait to have you in office.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me. Great discussion, Iris. And follow us on social media. Subscribe to the Bulletin Brief. We've got volunteer opportunities coming up. Keisha just held a wonderful volunteer orientation and training, and it has plans to do more. So we are out there. Find us, join us, help be a part of the change, because so goes Tarrant, so goes Texas.
And it's going to take all of us. So join us in the fight.
But it's winnable. It's winnable.
Yes.
If nothing else, this big win for climate change and inflation reduction, it's doable. We can do this. The wind is at our back. We just got to do the Dem thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, see you next Thursday.
All right. Bye, y'all. See y'all next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.